Hey, I believe we are live. How's it going, everybody? It's good to be back. If you probably noticed that we took a week off last week because I lost my computer. We went to Dallas and to film for the documentary, and there was some rental car chaos, and we
Yeah.
had to switch rental cars, and I left my computer with my hard drive and Journey to Truth, the documentary, everything was on that computer and hard drive, and left it in the old rental car. And it was kind of um one of the scariest things I've ever went through. I was like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? But 12 days later, it was finally delivered to my front door just yesterday. So we're able to go live again, and we're happy to be back with you guys. So thank you
And
all.
all is right in the world.
Right, right. I mean,
Can't imagine, man. It was like so much was on your computer and hard drive, and that was just you're like, I have no idea if I'm getting that back again. That would have been like
right.
I mean, just for the documentary alone, we would have had to reshoot all of that, but there was stuff that like the Ennio current stuff you can't recapture,
Yeah.
what you got. So
And
it
and
would have really sucked.
honestly, it would have really sucked. And honestly, I mean, I hate to play victim to this type of stuff, but I really felt like it was kind of suspicious how it all happened. Like all the way
Yeah,
down to like me somehow being enrolled in the gold membership and then that guy leading us to the wrong car and we had to switch
right.
cars, but then them losing my lost and found report in the system
Mm-hmm.
and like had that lady,
Somebody
yeah,
didn't want you to
yeah.
get that back.
And
That's all
then
I can say.
had that lady not took my name and phone number on the post-it, we would have never got a I
Hmm.
would have never got a phone call because they wouldn't have found me in the system because my file was gone. Like it was some wild stuff.
Yeah.
And then I had to have Jackie Kenner personally go up there and pick it up because I was playing phone tag with them and they would not have even been here yet had she not done that. So we're here, we're doing this, and we're excited to be joined by Samuel Chong once again. We've had him on in the past to speak on the Thea Uber prophecy. He spoke at our second conference, and today we're going to be talking about a book called 334 Lies, and we're going to be exposing the Illuminati. And this book is written by one of the highest degree chair members of the Illuminati at one time, I believe. I don't know if he still is. No, he isn't because he actually left. If at the end of the book he explained he doesn't believe in their beliefs anymore. But we'll get into all that. And it was absolutely fascinating to be inside of the mind of this guy when you were reading this book and understand the way these people think. But before we do that, I have to announce the conference that Aaron and I are going to be speaking at in September this month already.
This month.
September 27th through the 29th, the Mind Nexus Conference with Carrie Cassidy, John D'Souza, Ben Chastity, Alex Bloom, Jen and Brian Berryhill, myself, Aaron, and a number of other amazing speakers and we're really excited to be there. It's in Tucson, Arizona. Tickets are still available, and you guys can save $50 on your tickets if you use our discount codes. Aaron and I each have our own discount code, and that is below in the description, and along with a few other links for a couple other events coming up, including XCon, which I'm speaking at October 11th through the 13th in Springfield, Missouri, and then the Star Knowledge Conference, November 9th through the 11th in South Dakota, which I'm really excited about. It's actually Chief Golden Knight Eagle's daughter who's putting it on. This is the 28th year for the event. I believe it started in 1996 and the third year since he's passed. So it's an honor to be able to speak there. So check the link below, check the description below for all those links, and we hope to see you guys at one of these events. So with all that out of the way, Samuel, what's going on, man? You are literally getting ready to go to Germany to meet with these Illuminati members. Are you nuts?
I've been trying to put away my trip, kind of postponing and giving them as many excuses as possible not to go there because as you read the book, you're going to know there are a lot of disturbing, horrifying things that they did to others. So I was afraid before, but I'm not afraid anymore because I see that it's worth it. Um, as I see that the world is increasingly being divided or getting divided. And I think if I do sacrifice myself, it's worth it. But on the other hand, I don't see a lot of risks for this trip because I think balancing the the risk and benefits. I see more benefits than risks for this, and I'm trying to get as much information as possible from them, meeting the copyright holder of the book, which is different from the author of the book. The copyright holder is actually a person in a German consulting company, and the author of the book disappeared in 2001.
Wow. So, I mean, yeah, I believe that you'll be protected and, you're doing this all for the right reasons. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know the degree of the people that you're actually going to be meeting with, but now having a better understanding of their beliefs, you probably are a minimal threat to what they actually know and believe in and practice. So, as far as exposing them, honestly, I mean, they're kind of doing it to themselves anyway, and they're shooting themselves in the foot by being power hungry. But what I realize is this is literally a story. The Illuminati is a story of everything from myth and legends. I mean, we're talking about demons and wizards and deities and gods and princes, the Prince of Darkness. I mean, it's crazy. It's all real to them. It's all real to them. And these people are actual magicians talking about using like superpowers, making things appear out of thin air and manipulating matter and performing magic actually. And it really reminded me of Harry Potter a lot. And in the sense that there's a lot of disclosure in there. And I think like Harry Potter is kind of showing us like at the roots of the Illuminati what they're capable of. What are your thoughts on that, Samuel?
I think they have the knowledge that was lost in ancient civilizations, like since the sunken of the continent of Atlantis. And especially since the burning of the Library of Alexandria in Egypt, people didn't have the knowledge of the past anymore. But for some reason, this group of people, the members of the Illuminati, found this lost knowledge, and they were able to really practice meditation and also other kind of forms of psychic abilities, and to be able to have this kind of ability to do mind manipulation and to really kind of achieve their purpose, which is to control the entire world and through divide and conquer, divide and rule. And so I think this is something that people should be aware of. It's not just regular people, it's the people who have ancient knowledge, using the knowledge to their advantage, trying to manipulate the politicians of the world, and to do a lot of damage to the people in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, divide and rule is exactly, I think there was even one of the screenshots I took. It literally, I don't even know where it's at this point, but I mean, divide and rule was the game. That is exactly, which we know. But they talk about having essentially using black magic to manipulate and influence the political leaders of the world and control the outcome of every major event and war that's ever happened. A literal puppet master is pulling the strings. And I don't think people really understand the magnitude of what's happening behind the scenes. And the fact that we see the political arena and the mess that it's in right now tells me that somebody's losing grip. In the book, they use the analogy of the frog sticking out its tongue to catch the fly, but it misses the fly and the tongue keeps going. It can't stop that action. Well, that's kind of what is happening with the dark right now. They stuck their tongue out to catch the fly, but they missed the fly. So all their plans and agendas are being exposed, and it's too late for them to come back and stop it and reverse it. And they're kind of like their house of cards is collapsing, right? And, so when you were reading this book, you actually translated this book correctly,
Yes,
correct?
from German to English.
From German to English. Okay. Oh, so the English version that I read was your translation.
That's my translation.
Oh,
Nice.
interesting. Well,
I
it
don't
was,
read German, and I use the tool to do that because I had to read it myself, because I found this book um, because of a forum saying that there's a book that describes how to see auras, but the book is in German. So I checked that book out and I translated the book from German to English. And then I thought this is a very important book and I have to get more people to read it. So I was going to self-publish it, I thought that I wasn't able to be in touch with the copyright holder, so I was going to self-publish it. But before I was going, after I tried to do it, the copyright holder contacted me saying that it's a great idea to have it published in English. So they kind of authorized me to do that, and then I kind of turned it to them, and they got it published in English on Amazon. So and I think we had a few exchanges or emails, but I never met the person who is the current copyright holder of the book.
So let's talk about these people. I mean, they're kind of, in my eyes, I even wrote it down, the thought that came to my head, a bunch of unhealed men in a power struggle for dominance over the world and each other. And, they're honestly like disgusting perverts too. And some of the book got very graphic and it was hard to read and almost
Yeah.
impossible to read. And so, Aaron, what were your thoughts on that part?
Well, you just said it. So I started reading the book because Samuel, you said you wanted us to read it before the show. I was like, all right. So I started reading it. The very beginning, I was waiting for it to get good because he's just kind of like, you can tell he's just kind of like getting going on the story and talking about meeting this girl and whatever. I'm just like, all right, whatever. And then it tells how he kind of like meets the inside uh secret society people and his first interactions with them. And that was interesting, but then really quickly it gets really, really disgusting and really vulgar and graphic because of what starts happening to him, and he describes it in vivid detail. He does not hold back. And I was like, I can't read this, man. This is too much. So I kind of like, and I told you that, Tyler, as you know, through text. I was like, man, this book gets really vulgar and really graphic, and it's really rough to read. I don't know if I can do this, but I was like, well, let me try to like get power through that part and see if it gets better. And sure enough, it starts getting better because the guy's just telling his story. He just tells it in vivid detail, so he doesn't hold anything back. But once you get past that first part, like Tyler said, there's a few parts after that that start getting a little bit rough again, but nowhere near as bad as that first one towards the beginning of the book. But once you get past that, it gets a lot better, and then it gets into the real meaty details of the inside workings of these secret societies and the Illuminati, whatever name you want to call them, and how they think, like their entire psychology. It really gives you a nice insight in like how they think, what they do, how they work and manipulate each other in the organization, not just the outside people like us, but literally the people in their own organization they manipulate and they play all these games with. And but like you said, Samuel, a lot of the stuff they know is true knowledge. It's very powerful esoteric knowledge that goes back thousands of years to Atlantis times and way before, that's been kind of lost but rediscovered, but unfortunately has fallen into the hands of psychopaths, to put it simply, and people who really are all about kind of like in the law of one terms, it's like service to self mentality versus as opposed to service to others. So this is what the law of one would term as like service to self path or the left hand path, where these people are all about domination, control, do without wilt, no matter the consequences to anyone else. All that matters is that it's like kill or be killed. And it's all about, it's kind of like they worship the ego almost, where it's like they worship themselves. Every one of them kind of like worships themselves and puts themselves as this god that like as long as they can kind of dominate, everything's justified. Like the end always justifies the means. And but they do use all this real, esoteric knowledge to, like you said, they practice meditation. They are masters of manipulating energy and psychic powers and, all of that kind of stuff. And they become these very powerful kind of like masters, but they're still on that left-hand path, that service to self path, even though they are very powerful and all those
Right.
abilities, which are all of our abilities, by the way. They're just they're dormant in most of humanity, and until you turn them
Well,
on.
and they have access to the occult knowledge that it's
Right.
even possible. So
Right.
Samuel, when you were translating this book, what were your thoughts? And what were your thoughts? And especially like learning about the initiation process and what these people actually go through to become like 33rd degree and above.
Yeah, my initial reading of this was really kind of like what Aaron experienced. I really want to skip that part. And I really, when I was trying to get it published, I was thinking about removing that part from the book because it's so disturbing and so graphic. And having two versions of the book, one is a cleaner version, one is the entire version. And I think there's a lot of validity in the sense of the rituals that they practice to get more power, more psychic power from another person. Uh, is very scientifically based. If you do that kind of thing, you're going to absorb the electrons from the astral body of that person, and then
Mhm.
you're going to make those part of the astral body of that person becoming part of yours. So you gain more psychic power that way. But what they don't understand is that everything is recorded in the psychosphere, like the Akashic record. So
Mhm.
when they go through the life reveal process after they die, they're going to feel the pain of the person that they killed, and this is what they don't understand, how cause and effect or how the karma goes.
Karma. Yeah.
Yes. So I think it's important to have them to have the knowledge about the effects of karma, and to so that they can think about all the things that they did to others, and how it's going to affect their future lives.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's so much I want to cover here. So um you know what, in a way they are, I would say, demon possessed. They're working,
Yeah.
letting entities work through them to achieve these powers, right? It's
Mhm.
some of it is definitely we're capable of it on our own, but in my eyes, from what I was reading, it's like they're opening themselves up to these deities, right?
Yeah.
And we see this a lot with even like celebrities and musicians who like perform these amazing acts and win these Oscars and these Grammys, and these concerts are moving and captivating and enchanting. And in our Illuminati in the music industry webinar, we literally break down how these musicians perform rituals before their concerts and summon a demon that works through them and performs the show for them. And it's really, really fascinating. I mean, if that's happening on that level, can you imagine what's happening at the elitist level, right?
Right.
And what they're actually summoning to pull the strings. So, and one of the interesting things is they talked about being able to influence the mind. In a sense, it reminded me of the Force, and because no member should be able to deceive each other, right? Because they're all like tapped in telepathically to where they should be able to detect any deception coming their way, unless like they're being mind controlled and manipulated. What were your thoughts on that part?
I mean, I think they all have very strong psychic abilities, and sometimes they can cloak certain things from the other members, like so that the other members won't be able to detect their psychic attacks. So I think it also goes both ways, being the attacker and being the defender. Uh, I think uh, I think this is how they do things. I think it's very tricky. And this is the reason why I really want to find out more from them by visiting Germany and to get more information. Because a lot of the things, I think this book has more um, information that people may think is fictional, is more fictional than the Theoba prophecy book. And because the book doesn't contain specific details on some of the things that happened in the past. And it doesn't name names. That's what kind of triggered me to want to investigate more. It gives certain facts, but doesn't really give out the address or the names. But again, the book is written actually by the former highest degree chair of the Illuminati is not written by people at the peripheral. So the books that I've read so far on the subject of Illuminati seem to be from the researches or sources of scholars or people who are not necessarily high degree members. So we are looking at a book written by the highest degree chair, a former highest degree chair of the Illuminati. So I think it deserves special attention to see how they think and how they all operate. And I think this is why the October trip for me to go to Germany is so important to find out more information from them.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think like you said, it's important to actually get the story from the horse's mouth. And I'm going to jump to the end of the book here before I get into some of this other stuff, because I want people to understand what type of stuff we're talking about here. This man who wrote the book, so I'm going to read this part from the book. The 39th degree was the highest rank a person could attain. 40 was the number of the deity. Now I dare to take the 40th rank. To do so, I would have to prove that I had entered into an eternal union with the deity. So he was actually trying to reach the 41st degree, which was something unheard of. And what he did to do this was had himself buried alive for 41 days, literally not in a coffin, buried in dirt for 41 days with the earth while his consciousness left his body. This is what these people are practicing. He was able to literally project his consciousness out of his body for 41 days. And then after they dug him up, he was able to re-enter his body and survive and write this book. And then from that moment on, he became the highest member, right? Until what he says, the Prince of Darkness came onto the planet and challenged him, and he eventually, I guess, walked away or was taken out. I don't really understand exactly what happened, but maybe you could clarify what actually happened. Did he step down or did he get forced out?
You know, I don't have much information. I have the same information as you do, because I haven't really asked those questions to the copyright holder of the book, which is not the former highest degree chair. And I got the information that he disappeared in the summer of 2001, just a few months, maybe 1 or 2 months before 9/11 happened. And again, it has something to do with his loss of control of the organization Illuminati. And remember, the word Illuminati doesn't appear anywhere in the book. It just says a lodge or the secret society.
True.
I was able to connect the dots because I did some research on the language on top of each chapter of the book. It's a very strange language. And I searched on Google and found this website, illuminatiorder.info. That website has that language, and that connects me to the word Illuminati and making me believe that this is from the highest degree chair of the Illuminati. So I think no one knows where he is right now. No one knows if he's alive or dead. But I think he's trying to destroy the organization from within.
Right. So it seemed like at the end of the book, he had a change of heart and was fighting for the light because of his experience being dead for 41 days and coming back. And he really had a new viewpoint and a mentality on everything. And he was actually trying to explain to the other members that, this all doesn't have to be done through death and murder and, the slaughter of millions of people in war, and so it kind of, there was a phase where it was a little more peaceful before what he calls this Prince of Darkness came and challenged him, who was like purely nefarious. And because he was so, it's like the Sith Lord from Star Wars, like that's a powerful being. And when you're literally using anger as your driving force, you can do unimaginable things, and there's almost no stopping you. And that's what happened with this guy who was challenging him. But I guess help the audience understand how these people actually view humans and humanity, because it's kind of disgusting, but it's important to know.
Yeah, they see themselves as the rulers of the world. They see the humans beings, the rest of the people are just like 2-3 years or something. What's your take on that?
Oh, well, I mean, I got some notes on that.
Okay, please.
Um, they this is a quote from the book from the author. It says, "I could see the loneliness of these people. The weakness and trustfulness of the ignorant disgusted me. But the stronger I became, the weaker my fellow men seemed to me. I felt only pity, arrogant pity for these ignorant creatures who did not have a hint of will of their own." And said, with time, however, it became tedious. No, that's not the next part I wanted to read. There was another, I have another quote somewhere, but they literally looked down on us. They thought that they said that they were disgusted with humanity and they viewed us as sheep being led to the slaughter.
Yeah, I have two points that I want to make. One is that when you are in his position, having all these ways to predict the future and to manipulate a person's mind, and you, of course, you would feel omnipotent, being like godlike, because he has a way to predict the future using a special form of astrology and numerology, and also being able to see the auras, the human energy fields of a person. He would be able to tell if a person is lying or not, if a person is a homosexual, or if a person has certain kind of tendency. So he would be able to know everything about the specific person and what's going to happen in the future. So that would make him feel that everyone else is so low and not as strong as he is. And at the same time, because he was in the position of manipulating the major events in the world, like causing wars and also conflicts, he feels that, or he felt that people were so easily manipulated because they were so ignorant about what's really happening behind the scenes. So this is my take on that.
Right, but it's
Yeah.
it's so counterintuitive. Like they get angry at us for being ignorant and not knowing, but then they hold all the secrets. They
Yeah.
don't tell. Like
Well,
they don't.
right.
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
Right. Well, that's it. Like they're blinded to their own ignorance and their own stupidity, even though they have this knowledge. It's like, well, that's the thing, because the whole like it's all very service to self, worship of self, not the real self, the ego self, that you can't have, like, that falls apart if you share with all, right? Because the whole concept of sharing with all is a service to others concept, is from love. Well, they're not based in love and oneness and service to others. They're based in fear, control, domination, and the self is God, rather than like we are all God, right? So it's funny, like you said, it's hilarious that they're ignorant to their own, the stupidity and hypocrisy of their own actions and beliefs, that they're like, oh, you stupid humans that don't know any of this stuff, even though you've literally been groomed since birth in this false system that doesn't teach you this stuff. Like, how would they know, right? Like, you're not.
Right.
And then you guys are like, even the people like this guy who before he entered into it was one of those people, but then when he becomes he it's like he can't put two and two together, that like, hey, I used to be exactly that, but now I think I'm this hot shit because I have this new
Well,
perspective. And
he
it's like,
literally says in the
you used to
book,
be that.
right?
Yeah.
He literally says in the book, even though I used to be this, I still hate
Right.
mankind. And like I
Right.
used to be one
He
of
even
them.
understands that, but still
So,
can't,
like
he holds that perspective.
um
Because it's almost like they're addicted to the power and the energy they get from it and the control they get. They're addicted. It's like a very psychopathic. I mean, you basically have to be a psychopath to get that deep into these organizations.
well, yeah, let
You
me
have
let
to
me
be.
let me read really quick what they have to say about themselves. Um, this is from, so one of their members died and they were at a funeral. In the assembly of the high masters, I dared to give a hypocritical funeral speech. In truth, none of these present mourned because these people were focused solely on their personal well being and their own preservation of power. They did not care what happened to others, even if they were close to each other. They did not even make an effort to feign decency and mourning. They looked around boredly, signaling to me to be brief. Blah, blah, blah. It goes on to say, but, and then what he has to say about the other members, like he's somehow more enlightened. It's so funny. Like he's always like back and forth. There's like a conflict within. He
Yeah.
said these people possessed neither a sense of morality nor ethics. The only rule the only rule they accepted was the rule of the lodge, which they themselves established. So
Right.
like no morality, no ethics. They only played by their own rules that they wrote, and they could
Yeah.
break it anytime.
Right. Well, it's like a self-fulfilling thing, right? And that's what the cabal, like the Illuminati, whatever term you want to say, they it's like this might makes right kind of like, well, we're the self-proclaimed enlightened ones and rulers because we're doing it. We're dominating humanity, and we're the ones that like took charge with that kind of thing. So
Right.
therefore, that must mean we have the divine right to rule, and we're the chosen ones, and you guys are just useless eaters, worthless, whatever, that we can just do what we want with
Mhm.
and manipulate. Which unfortunately, there is truth in what they say and what they believe, but they don't see the greater truth outside of their little bubble of kind of like half truths, you know. They don't
So
see the greater reality
right.
because they're so engulfed in that.
So whenever you go and meet with these people, do you know exactly, are they former members or current members?
There, what happens is that after the author disappeared in 2001, um, like some of the followers started to have meetings, and some of the followers were probably members of the Illuminati, the organization from before, but I think most of them are not. Um, so I don't know. I don't have a lot of information, and they communicate in German, so I have to translate into English in order to understand because I don't speak German. So that's another thing. Even though I translated the book from German to English, I think that's going to cause some kind of issues. But I think it's probably not a coincidence that I was able to do this. So I guess there has to be some kind of a plan in the future that.
Well, right. Well, I mean, thank God you translated this book because I would have never read it for one. I would have never read the Thea Uber prophecy if it wasn't for you emailing us.
Yeah.
I would have never read this book if it wasn't for you emailing us. And honestly, this book, like if it remained in German, we would have just never known. I
Mhm.
literally had no idea that these people were burying themselves alive to achieve like immortality essentially and doing it and being successful. But the traditional the traditional form was to do it for 3 days. And this was he explained like the Egyptian gods used to do this to 3 days. You bury yourself for 3 days and you come up, which was hard enough on its own. But 41 days was like unheard of, and he did it. But I don't think it's any coincidence either that you're doing this. And obviously, you're on a mission and you're fulfilling that mission, and we're spreading awareness. And I think that's all we can really hope for and ask for at this point. So thank you for being brave enough to do
Yes.
that. Like,
Thank you.
as much research as I've ever done, I've never thought I'm gonna go book a flight to Germany and talk to one of these people. Like,
After the war in Ukraine and after the conflicts in the Middle East, I made up my mind because before I was really afraid of meeting those people, because of the descriptions in the book, disturbing description in the book. But I think it's time for me to take some actions and to help to make the world a better world in the future. Another one information I can provide you is that they say about 20 people are on the top of the organization. They divide the world themselves. They divide up the world themselves among themselves. I have a friend in the Bay Area in San Francisco, and he contacted me after reading the book The Yoga Prophecy. He said that he was able to levitate when he was young after fasting for a few days, after getting his microcosmic circle, like practicing certain kind of qigong. Um, he said he and I kept a lot of contact over the years. And I think in May this year, he came down to Los Angeles. And over the dinner lunch table, he told me one thing that he didn't share with others, that in 2010, he went to Hong Kong and met a very mysterious person and who drove a Rolls Royce, a very luxurious car, and who told him that they were actually the organization that decide on the agents that took money from the central banks in the world. He told me that according to him, George Soros was one of the agents for the organization, receiving a certain commission from the central banks in order to distribute the money to the rest of the organizations. And then there are other strange things that they told him, or that person told my friend. Among them, including like a drug or medication that would cause a person to have a very long longevity, like 100 years or 200 years old, and never have certain kind of diseases. My friend didn't believe any of the things that he was told. So in order to show my friend of their validity, so they took my friend to the VIP service of HSBC in Hong Kong. So they met in Hong Kong. And then using my friend's passport, they opened a bank account in my friend's name. And then they transferred him $5 billion, $5 billion US dollars into the bank account that they opened for him, in order to show him they had the power and ability to control that amount of money. So my friend was very surprised at how they did this, and he asked them, like, how did you do this? Where did the money come from? And he was told that they were able to get the money from the people who deposited the money but passed away, and also from the money in which a check was issued but never was yet to be deposited by the counterparty. So the floating money when the check is issued. So he was told that information. And they also told my friend about the future politician of China, who is going to be the next leader of China, what he is going to be doing. And so this tells my friend that they are the people deciding the fate or future of China. So that's a very, very sensitive issue that my friend later learned that that seemed to him to be very, very strange. He still didn't believe that until he was invited to go to Beijing with that person in Hong Kong to meet with the next leader of China. And then my friend was in the US. He didn't want to go back to China anymore. So, and then afterwards, he lost touch with that person, mysterious person. So this is like one thing that I learned from my friend personally, that there's a group of people determining the fate of politicians in China and possibly the rest of the world as well.
Yeah, I would say likely the rest of the world. Yeah. I think they had a much better grip a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago than they do now. Like I said, if you look around at the world, I feel like they're losing that grip. And obviously, they're still going to tirelessly perform their black magic and do whatever they can until they can't. That's just the nature of these people, you know. And some of them aren't even people, which I want to talk about. So this is I'm going to read straight from the book. Now that I knew Now I knew that his greatness had nothing to do with worldly power. I met wise men in their meditations. I united with their power and consciousness. I felt as if my soul was flowing everywhere to all spiritual centers of the world. I consulted with the living gods of earth who lived unrecognized among men. Some of them let themselves be worshipped as the deities they were. I understood why the greatest Lama went to the dust of the earth. I saw the misguided people who entrusted themselves to false prophets. I looked into the powers of darkness. I met with the Prince of Hell. I roamed inhabited regions of spiritual worlds. I was beyond space and time. So he literally talked about meeting the living gods of the earth who lived unrecognized among men. meaning that some of these demigods are here in human form, and some of them are still being worshipped, and these are the false prophets, right? I mean, that's a massive statement. And I've heard Max Spears and James Caspel talk about Lucifer was living like James Caspel said Lucifer's here in human form and he lives in New York. Like he's a straight up said it, like as a matter of fact. And we have to take this stuff seriously. We don't know who these people are. We would not recognize them on the street if we passed them. What are your thoughts on that, Samuel?
I think this is the interesting thing about life is that we have to look uh, behind everything in order to find out the truth. And if, like the book says, that if the top 20 people that control the world, if they walk on the streets, you wouldn't be able to recognize them because their names never appear on newspaper. But there are also true gods that live among us, and if we are able to see auras, I think we are able to tell who those people are. But we have to be really vigilant about who we communicate. And also, I think the easiest thing to do is to love everyone, like Christ said, love one another. And I think if you treat everyone well and with love and compassion, I think that's the right way to live.
Right. Absolutely. And so when was this book actually originally written?
It was it was published in 2001. It was written in the 90s, like late 90s.
Okay. So let's paint a picture here. If this guy stepped down in the late 90s, wrote this book in 2001 and ended the book, the very last chapter, he literally talks about the Prince of Darkness that was here, who was challenging him. That means around 2001, the late 90s, the Prince of Darkness would have been here in human form, whoever that was, Lucifer. Let's just pretend. That means that he had his reign probably all the way up until 2016 when we had the Q, the Trump stuff, and that's debatable amongst everybody who's involved in politics and all that stuff. But we did see a noticeable change, a shift in the theme, the overall theme of the way the entire world was ran at that point. And a lot of people were literally shitting their pants. I mean, they were scared to death of what was happening because they were losing control. So
Mhm.
in a sense, like this is older information in the book. And to me, it's actually good news that we're past that point, hopefully past that point.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I said,
No,
they're
we
going to
agree.
tirelessly try and throw punches until they can't. But um, I just think it's interesting to put it in perspective like that.
Well, I got some other information. According to my friend in San Francisco, he knew some arm dealers, and according to the arm dealers, and they invite him um, to live in South Africa inside of a bunker. So they in their mind they think World War III is inevitable. But I think we can change everything if we act together. So this is why I really want to communicate with the people over there and to see what we can do to further the goal of the former Illuminati chairman to have this organization be broken.
Well, he gave us the answer in the book, literally gave us the answer. And I'm going to read you the answer right now, what we have to do. Every master of the innermost circle had countless people on his conscience, if he had anything like a conscience. These people had tremendous magic powers, and they directly or indirectly controlled all influential business tycoons and politicians. The only ones that they had fear, the only ones that they had to fear were the unleashed masses of the population. 1 million people concentrated with outraged emotions, holding one thought would be invincible. No one could stand against such a concentrated mass. Therefore, the lodge feared the public beyond all measure. They literally told us their worst fear, which we can now use against them.
Yeah.
A million people concentrated with outraged emotions, holding one thought in meditation, would be invincible. No one, not even the highest ranking member, could stand against such a concentrated mass. Therefore, the lodge feared the public beyond all measure. That is such a powerful statement, especially considering who it came from.
Exactly.
Any, right. Aaron,
Yeah.
you were going to say something?
Yeah, it's, to put it simply, it's the awakening that's happening
Right.
now is their worst nightmare, because we've all along we've been the sleeping giants, the sleeping gods, so to speak. That only because and humanity has been artificially, you could say, kept and suppressed at this lower level of consciousness and in ignorance for so long, that they've been able to get away with this for so long. Well, now that we're waking up, that's why they're freaking out, because that's their worst nightmare, because there goes all their power. They're like he just said, like only 1 million people. Well, the population is what, 8 billion. I mean, that's like not even 0.1% of the world's population. If
Right.
so, if we can unify and enact our will, and a big part of this process of awakening, though, is understanding, is having the scales come off our eyes in the first place, to understand the world that we live in, the reality that we live in the first place, and realize not, and that includes who we really are. And that's what's happening, I feel like, more and more. And the way they were able to get away so smoothly, so for so long with all this, is because so few people uh knew the reality that we're living in, knew that there is a greater reality outside of being in a religion, which is its own mind control. I mean, there's good things in religion, but then there's a lot of negative and mind control, which, by the way, they are at the top of the pyramids of all the religions in the world, and they manipulate through that as well, especially the Catholic Church. That's a whole other thing. But
And that's why
anyways,
and really quick, let me just interject. And
yeah.
that's why the Catholic Church constantly, they don't have an actual physical Bible anymore in the churches. They're
Hmm.
handed pamphlets every week because it's constantly being updated. Who gets to
Yeah.
control who updates the Bible?
Right. Well, and then, you a long time ago, the only people allowed to read the Bible were the priests. You weren't even, and most people were illiterate anyway, so they had to have the priests read it and interpret it and tell them what it said, because they were the divine ones that could do, all this nonsense. And then luckily that, started getting away from that, but then it's still, the control system never, like, all the things we read throughout history that were like, oh, look at that control system, oh, look how horrible, it's like it never ended. It just like the people behind the scenes the whole time just kind of like regrouped and created something different and expanded the slavery in different ways,
Right.
and most of it's mental, and that's what the purpose of all the stuff we see with the propaganda and the social conditioning and all the rest of it, because they have to steer humanity in the ways they want humanity to go. Well, now humanity is waking up for the first time on enough of a scale, for the first time ever, that we're not just going along, we're not just being led like so easily like we used to. We're starting to wake up and be like, wait a second, stuff isn't adding up. Wait a second, there's
Right.
evil in the world. Wait a second, I'm more powerful. I don't have to just do what I'm told. Like I'm an autonomous sovereign being. Wait a second, there's all these manipulations and conspiracies going on that are not to humanity's best interests. They're clearly only for these like tiny few that are manipulating things. Wait a second, all these wars are fake and manipulated to happen for these nefarious, so we're starting to wake up to the reality that we've been in. And then then the choice is, are you going to keep feeding into that system? Are you going to keep playing the game? Are you going to just to make money and have a comfortable life or whatever? Or are you going to take your power back and create a life and a reality that you actually want to create on a conscious level? And that's what we're doing more and more, and that's their worst nightmare. But that's why I think, it seems to be that a lot of these dark players, or who were previous dark players, have flipped to the light, because they've seen the writing on the wall. They know the jig is up, and they know they have to now make a choice. Am I going to go down with that ship, or am I
Well,
going to jump on this emerging conscious,
so
awakening that's
and
happening?
and that's a great example is the guy who wrote the book. Like he
Right.
literally
The guy that wrote the book.
he
Right.
literally flipped. And in the book you learn about the worst, most imaginable, disgusting things a human can do to another person and people, and he did it and he talks about it.
Mhm.
Um, and he tells a story about this guy going to a priest and saying, if I've murdered 99 people, can I still make it to heaven? And the priest told him no. So he murdered the priest. He murdered a 100th person. And it was the whole moral of the story was that there was still a way to achieve, you can still achieve enlightenment no matter what you've done, no matter what evil you've done,
Right.
there's still a way to heal from that and change. And that was kind of like one of his like messages that he left us with. But
Right.
I don't know, what are your thoughts on that, Samuel? I mean, as far as like these people having a chance to start over and switch to the light.
Of course, they can always switch to the light, and I think the author knows that, and this is why in the foreword of this book, he posts like he answered two questions, and I think he was trying to redeem himself by writing this book and hoping that he can contribute to the breaking up of this organization or the lodge. Um, and I think he had a lot of repentance at the end. So this is why he actively sought to sought ways to have this organization be destroyed. But it's very interesting in the book. It says that the organization has to be destroyed from within, because if we send in law enforcement personnel, they can just use their magical powers to kind of delude the law enforcement or the police, and then escape. And then I find that to be very interesting, because um, this is why I've been trying to get this book out to the right people so that they can know the bigger picture, so they can be converted.
Well, that's such an interesting thought that has to be done from within. And we hear this, the whole like white hat effort and stuff, and people like flip out whenever they see a picture of Trump standing next to Epstein or whatever. But it has to be dismantled from the inside out. And you have to place yourself in their home, essentially. You have to play their game. And like, yeah, like you said, we're talking about Harry Potter shit, like the wizards and demons and spell casting and manifesting diamonds out of thin air and whatever they want to do. Actual magicians that can manipulate the mind of anybody who comes after them. And the only mind that can't be manipulated in their opinion, in their eyes, is a stronger mind.
Right.
And so, how do you take somebody down unless you become one of them and destroy it from the inside out? And we can only pray that somebody is out there in the process of doing that as we speak. And like he mentioned in the book that he had allies that if they were to work with him, they could be powerful. But the problem was were that the allies, convincing the allies that he was, that these people needed to be taken down, and actually getting, being brave enough to do it. I want to read one more thing about, they literally called themselves parasites. So he said,
Very
we are
self-aware.
yeah, we are parasites, which in itself is not a bad thing. On the
But they
con
think it's not a bad thing.
Right. On the contrary, parasitism is an inevitable way of life, and inviolable. I'm sorry. On the contrary, parasitism is an inviolable way of life. Only we must not make the mistake of many parasites that they suck their host to death. We must take care of the world that serves us and provide for its welfare. The welfare of the world should at least be equated with the welfare of the lodge. These were new sounds for my listeners, but no one could escape the conclusiveness of my explanations. All agreed with my point of view, blah, blah, blah. So, anyway, they literally believe they're parasites, but he said a good parasite won't kill their host, they'll keep their host alive. And that's essentially what they're trying to do to us,
Well, if they
right?
kill the host, they kill their energy source.
Exactly.
And I
The way he makes it sound is like, he goes, only we must not make the mistake of many parasites that they suck their host to death. So
right.
that means that in some cases they get so power hungry that they literally
Mm.
consume their food source. But so, which is really interesting how everybody right now is infested with parasites, right? And there's a major parasite issue. When I was on a mushroom trip, I was shown, I literally was having a conversation with Lucifer, and he showed me he showed me how they control the world, and it was through parasites. And like he particularly showed me the politicians, and everyone was just infested, and it was like parasitic thought forms like running the show. So that
Mhm.
I really do believe there's something to it. And if you have this man literally calling himself a parasite, then what does that tell you?
Entity attachments, which I think
Right,
kind of goes hand in hand with that. And yeah,
right,
It
yeah.
actually described how he was able to enter into the sense of a different person and then manipulating the behaviors of that person. So I know seeing what that person sees and hearing what that person hears. So it talks about this kind of control of people acting just like a parasite. So I think this is a very revealing book to read. And
right. And I've heard somebody recently say too that now this is kind of changing subject in a sense, but one of the main reasons for parasites too is so there are actual celestial stargates on this planet that can take you to other worlds. And if you have a parasites for whatever reason, if you're infested with parasites, if a human is infested with parasites, they can't pass through a stargate because whatever process happens in crossing through that portal, the parasites basically explode. They expand and explode, and people will spontaneously combust if they tried to leave the planet. So it's a way what better way to make sure that your slaves don't escape than infest them with parasites, even the people in power. So they can't just jump through the celestial stargate and jump ship, if they don't like the deal that's been made. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but it's really something interesting to think about.
what I
Um,
find this book interesting is the date when he disappeared in the summer of 2001. So 9/11 happened right after. So I think he really lost control of the organization. And then the organization was actually after him ruled by this Prince of Darkness. And so this is actually another reason for me to go to Germany and to ask the people like who this Prince of Darkness is and what we can do about that.
Would that be would that be the Antichrist, do you think?
Yeah, I would think so.
yeah.
I mean, that lines up.
I mean, and what's interesting in the book, this guy like literally is like, throttling his own ego the whole time and talking about how powerful he is, how like no one else is
Mhm.
more powerful than him. But when you get to the part of the Prince of Darkness, you can feel the energy change in the page when you're reading it. You can sense his fear. Like he's like, this is something else. Like this is a power that even I can't compete with, and it's pure evil. So, um, I mean, be careful when you go over there. Are you planning on interviewing like these people? Are you just going to have a conversation and remember
Uh,
this stuff? Are you going to set up a camera? What are you going to do?
it's a private event and it's going to last a few days. They have an official agenda for 2 days, and then the rest will be conversation with the people, participants, and everything is confidential. And I hope I can get some information out that can be beneficial to the future of mankind. And I do think that they do divide powers. Um, I mean, not them, but the people still in the organization, they do control the world by dividing themselves up to certain countries in the world and each
Right.
in charge of specific regions. So, but it will be my first time meeting these people. And, Germans are very different from Americans. Americans, they kind of put up their contact information online, but the Germans, they're really treat their privacy as the most important thing in their life. So a lot of them are really anonymous people.
Wow. That's how it should be. Like I
Mhm.
wish that my contact information wasn't on every single app that I sign up for. You sign up for Telegram, next thing you know, people are calling you. I'm like, how the hell did you get my number? Oh, it's right there. Um,
Right.
so it says here that he when he had to come to America for the first time and meet with the members of the Illuminati here in America, he just disguised himself as a businessman, and even the other members didn't know who he was. He had to prove himself and like show his powers to these people so they knew that he was one of them, right? They have their like secret society handshakes and stuff. But and they walk amongst us. We talked about the gods, but even the lower levels members walk amongst us, and they're disguised as undercover as businessmen. So if you come back disguised as a businessman, we're gonna know something's up.
I just hope you come back.
Right.
Be safe. We're
I'm
gonna.
going to be back. I'm not afraid of the people I'm going to be meeting with. It's just that I'm exposing myself to this the maybe the people who are still in the organization. They're the ones that I think are going to cause certain things to happen.
Well, right. And you being the public figure now that you are is actually, this is what I always say, that's the safest thing you can do, because they need secrecy, right? They can't have things exposed. So the more public you are, if something then happens to you, that's going out to your entire, everyone in the internet, the entire public. So the more, really the safest thing you can do is to be a very public figure and to come out in a big way. This goes for whistleblowers or insiders or people doing the work that you're doing. And they'll still try to like play a game, they'll still try to mess with you and do things, whatever they feel they can get away with. But
If they
again, it also comes down to yourself. Like I think we have to authorize things for it to actually happen really on a certain level, through our own karma, so as long as you stay in integrity, then there's only so much they can do as well.
and just don't oh my God, my mind just went blank. Oh, they'll give you, if they took you out, that's giving you credibility.
Right, which is what the last
Right.
thing they want to do.
Yeah,
So
so
that's kind
they're
of what
not
I'm
going to
saying.
do that, but
They're not going to
also
do.
I do want, so in the book they talk about these like Illuminati, these parties, right, where there's just massive orgies and prostitution and the worst stuff imaginable. Like he like literally described, he goes, they're all in love with each other, meaning they all sleep with each other, men and women, all of them,
Yeah.
and they go to these parties and they're drugged and drugs are handed around, and it's the worst of the worst that you can imagine. um don't go to any parties when you're over there.
Yeah.
Don't, if they get invited to a party,
Don't
do
take
not
any
go.
drugs or alcohol or yeah.
Watch your drinks. I mean, all of it. Like going, like you gotta outsmart them.
Yeah, I don't drink at all and I don't party at all. The first few days I'll be going to the Frankfurt Book Fair for a few days and then meeting another person and also the copyright holder, and then it's the real like annual meeting. I have confidence in my survival because I'm probably the only person who knows the secret. The one thing that the author Michel de Marquet of The Theobald Prophecy wasn't allowed to write in the book. I verified and verified again. I'm the only person who know this. So if Tao the Theoban told Michelle to tell me that one thing, but that one secret, she must have previewed my life already. So she wouldn't just have given the secret to someone who just died in a few years. So I think I'm going to survive for a few decades.
Right, interesting.
Right.
And
There you go.
yeah, man, I'm like, I just had it on the tip of my tongue again. um Gosh, what were we just talking about right before that? The
Drugs and parties and orgies.
parties, yeah.
And
I guess it doesn't matter. I
being
was gonna.
safe when you go to this thing and
Oh, that's
they're
what it was. Yeah,
actively.
it does matter. Actually, it was more important than anything. So anybody who's listening to this, I would love to just, ask everyone to, pray for Samuel
Yes.
and surround him with protection, and we can just collectively, they just told us what we have to do. We have to unite and literally focus our intentions on one thought, and we're more powerful than they can even handle. So if
We're more
we
powerful, guys. You
so
can
if
use that. Right.
everyone listening right now, if we can just collectively, surround Samuel with protection. And when are you going? When are the dates of your trip?
From October 13th until the 26th of October.
Wow, the 26th is my birthday. So you're gonna come back and that's gonna be my birthday present. Um,
I'm gonna be
But
in
no,
I'm gonna be in Peru while you're in Germany, actually.
nice. Yeah,
So
doing some grid work. So
yeah,
anyway, so for those dates, we'll set our intention to keep you protected. And I'm fully confident that you're coming back. I'm not scared for you either, but just to play it safe and to ensure like a safe return, we're gonna ask everyone to surround you with some protection and make sure that
yeah,
the path is
absolutely.
clear for you. So
And if the audience has any suggestions, especially after reading the book, has any insights or suggestions or information like to provide to me, that'll be great. I'd like to hear from them.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about as far as if you really want to dissect this book, right?
Mm.
Some of it's not worth even repeating. And I think a lot of it we discussed already. But, they said divide and rule. This was the motto of the Brotherhoods when they wanted to influence the course of events. This principle was also applicable within the lodges, meaning they would divide and rule amongst themselves. There was so much backstabbing going on. It was amazing. No one it's like the mob or the mafia that we see those
Yeah,
movies. No one trusts each other. Like they said at the funeral, there was no mourning or grieving. Like they were literally all worried about like if they were going to be killed or who was going to come after them next
right.
because the funeral was the guy that they were there for the funeral, he was literally killed by one of them, and the guy, and so it's like it, it's
Well, that's why
dirty game.
the darkness defeats itself,
Yeah,
because there's nothing tying them together. Like love brings together, right? Is the glue. Like, and when you're devoid of that, it's just every man for himself. And like you said, they'll stab each other in the back, they'll kill or be killed. They're all just looking out for themselves, and there's no sense of like unity, or real unity, only in like operating and keeping the secrecy going or whatever. But like really, like it eats itself, like the snake eating its own tail, because that's the consciousness they're in. It's like, and eventually it destroys itself.
right.
And the more it's exposed, the more the quicker it becomes
and,
destroyed,
and I,
because it has to stay in the darkness. You start exposing it to the light, it's like the cockroaches scatter and then they're divided, and then it like starts falling apart. So that's what's happening
so
now, essentially.
so here's an interesting quote too from the book. He says, with time, however, it became tedious to keep the wild bunch of wizards under control. He used the word
Mm.
wizards a lot.
Yeah,
This task took more and more of my time, so that I soon used my creativity only to keep my supremacy. And he explains what he did. But at the end, he talked about going to members and explaining to them that it was better to unite. Like he was like, no, like after he was gone for 41 days and came back, and he like met all these ascended masters and all these people, and he tried to explain to them like, no, like we're way more powerful if we unite, guys, instead.
right.
But they're so like focused on self-preservation and
Hmm.
and their
Right,
own ego, right? Ego driven. So they can't
right.
hear that stuff. And they're also parasites, and probably even I don't know if they're infested with parasites because they talk about having to have a very clean body to perform some of this magic. So it's interesting that they would consider themselves clean and pure, but also identify as a parasite, which is really ironic. Um,
Well, they've become a parasite. It doesn't even matter if they're
right,
infested. They become themselves a giant parasite
right.
that are
Interesting.
all operating in that consciousness completely.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So, I mean, is there anything that we didn't cover, Samuel, that you wanted to let our audience know about?
Yeah, I think yeah, again, knowledge is power. The more you know about them, the more
mhm.
you're prepared to respond to certain situations just in case they occur in the future. So I would
Yeah.
suggest people to gain knowledge and
Mhm.
certainly be prepared and to follow your heart for decisions and love each other. And that's the message that I have to pass on. Yeah.
Right. Love each other. I mean, honestly, it always comes down to love, but most people don't understand what that means. And even sometimes I don't know if I understand what pure unconditional love feels like. It's hard to stay in that frequency when we're existing in the 3D. And the time that I did experience like a major heart activation when I was in Belize, I've told that story before. It was so powerful. It was almost hard to stay in that frequency and still exist in this reality. It's like you either have to like leave the game or you have to figure out a way to integrate that and stay and still be like human, right? It's really interesting to what I'm trying to say is like love is the answer, and pure unconditional love is like I don't know if humans can even quite comprehend what that is, but if we can start focusing on that, it's literally it's that's the
Mhm.
superpower, right?
Well, don't try to comprehend it in a mental way, and
Right.
that's a big mistake. I think a lot of people they think it's like it's all in the mind. Well, the mind is like the smallest aspect of your existence, really. It's just
Right.
all your brain is a tool for you to get around in this 3D reality. But that's why they want everyone locked in the brain so that you're completely powerless and you're at this very low level of consciousness. So you need to get in your heart and you need to get in your, you know, your energy, where you're it's hard to explain, but like you basically embody, like love is not a mental construct, it's an energy. So like the way that this body would feel, it would interpret it as a feeling, but it's more than that, obviously. That's just your body is a receptor, for this energy. So it's kind of just like embodying love, but like it's like, well, how do I do that? Well, start with the will to do it, and then you just, um by practicing gratitude, by practicing serving others, by practicing seeing the good in others and good in the world and in nature, and connecting with everything that you can find that is good and that is pure, and then see that in yourself, and then realizing there is no separation, everything is connected. So you are not limited to this body that you think is separate from everything. The real you is everything and is connected to everything, and all really is one. That's the law of one, right? And really it just starts with like the will to want to understand or want to embody love, and then you just go from there, and it builds, like energy builds, right? So you have to build it every day, and soon enough it's just second nature. You're embodying love all the time. And I don't think it's something, it's like there's no special formula that you can memorize or do, it's not like, it's like you just gotta like have the will to do it, and then just try to live as consciously as you can, and try to embody love, and unity and oneness, and understand that everything that seems to be outside, because there is no outside of you. This is also another big secret. You're perceiving things outside of you, but that's a perception that your your mind is creating. Really, everything is within you. The universe is within you. So everything you see outside of you really is an aspect that is also within you. And if you can try to like integrate all of that and realize, instead of like hating and demonizing things, and then like, it's like, realize it's all just showing you an aspect of God, which you are a part of, which we are all essentially that, right?
Mhm.
And then choosing consciously what you want to embody and what you want to create. So it's all about really raising your consciousness. The more you do that, the more, because since love, in my opinion, is the energy that makes up everything, which you could call God, it's all the same thing. The more you raise your consciousness, the more you naturally connect to that energy, and you naturally embody that energy, to put it simply.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Um, I mean,
But yeah, it's, like,
it's right. I mean, it's you can,
the truth is very simple, but there's all these different ways to kind of explain it and to
but
embody
it's,
this one truth.
but the thing also is it's so easy to have these conversations, but how many people are really embodying this stuff and
Right.
understand truly? Like that's what I love Zaysan in the Plajaran Diaries because he's experiencing, he's like unlock, he's like he keeps every time he thinks he knows what love is, he's shown something else that like shatters what he thought love used to be. And like he
Mhm.
still like doesn't even understand love. The more he thinks he understands, the more he doesn't understand it,
Right.
and he's like in physical contact with these extraterrestrials who are helping unlock him. So what I'm trying to say is like we can discuss this stuff, but embodying it and understanding it is something completely different. And but there's you know
But the fact that he's oriented towards embodying it and has
right.
that's his focus. That's what's most important, because
Exactly,
there's no like
exactly.
end to the journey. We're like, oh, I've mastered love and I've mastered, it's like, no, you're always expanding. You're always learning. When you think you got it figured out,
You
nope, there's
don't.
another level. You don't.
So Samuel, somebody asked, is the book available on Amazon? I believe it is. Yeah.
It is, yes.
Okay. So that was Katie. So yes,
I shared the link in the comments or in the chat.
description.
In the
Okay, the
chat.
chat. I didn't see it. Maybe you did.
You can share it again.
And then what else? They said that the Illuminati like to use sexy women, so don't walk off with any women while you're there, Samuel.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's very true. Yes.
Um,
Don't do.
but yeah, you're gonna be fine. I can't wait to hear about it. I honestly can't. There's the link. Aaron just shared the link. So if anyone's interested in the book, it's available. Just be warned that there is some graphic, very graphic content, but you get past that, I think the book is actually worth reading, to be honest. I found it
Mhm.
particularly fascinating to be inside the mind of this guy and to see the struggle even within his own mind, and then the power struggle within the lodge, and then and him like experiencing the death for 41 days and coming back and being challenged by the Prince of Darkness. I mean, we're talking about a movie script here, but this was the real life
Yeah.
scenario, and I was like, I couldn't put it down. So I mean, and it really, really, you walk away from it with a new understanding of how the world works and how these people think, and everything starts to make sense all of a sudden. You're like, oh, that explains this, this, and this. That explains the wars. That explains their political agendas and whatever. And to understand that there's real wizards, real black magicians, and white magicians. I mean, there's
Hmm.
real magicians behind the scenes. That I mean, this is we're talking about some spiritual warfare on a level that most people don't comprehend, and to understand that it's all real, and have somebody of this caliber write a book and explain to you in detail from the inside out what's going on, I think is actually crucial. And I would recommend people read the book, just maybe skim through the graphic parts.
Same here. I really, really encourage people to have the knowledge and in the very beginning when I read this, I didn't really believe everything was real, but then I did some research and how like it talks about the certain facts that I was able to verify. Like they said that the organization was exposed by the Americans and the Italians, and then they were able to cover it up pretty fast. So that was probably some of the leaks of information regarding Illuminati that we see on other books written by other authors. And I do suggest people to read it, but be warned of the disturbing content,
Right.
how they perform the rituals. Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if there's another group, another secret society out there above these guys, and like everything's
There
compartmentalized.
are.
So
Yeah.
there's somebody out there that read this book and was like, oh, these guys think that they're the top, and he thinks there's only 20 people. Oh, they don't even know about
Mhm.
us, you know. I
Right.
mean, because they don't mention like the extraterrestrial aspect, and
Right.
there's
There's a lot
certain
of
things, yeah, that
higher dimensional beings.
it's compartmentalized,
Hmm.
and everyone like who thinks they're at the top, surely there's somebody above them, right? I don't think it ever stops, and whatever that looks like, we can only speculate. But I think it's important to understand that like this might not be the end all be all information, but it definitely is up there with things I've read as far as what actually happens in these secret societies. Um, I guess that's it. If there, would you like to share any more information, let people know where they can find you, Samuel, before we wrap this up?
You got the invitation to join the Illuminati, and I don't know. I'm already a public person, so they can just find me on Facebook. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so we all get those like Facebook messages and stuff, the Illuminati asking you to sign up. Well, under the post on Facebook today, somebody left a
That's right
comment.
there. No way.
Yeah, like
That's amazing.
under the episode here, I took a picture of it. I
That's
forgot what
hilarious.
hang on, let me find it real quick. Yeah, like underneath the episode post, they're like, "Hey, would you like to join the Illuminati?" Um, I'm gonna find it so I can read it exactly what it said.
That's hilarious.
Um,
Like, oh yeah,
yeah, it
sign me
said
up. Totally.
is from Jeremiah. Jeremiah. Membership invitation into the world's most popular and prestigious organization, the Illuminati Brotherhood Secret Society. We saw you in what is beyond human eyes to see and decide to request your membership so you can excel this greatness in you and helping the Brotherhood and inquiring its golden aim in making the world a better place for every human species through fame, wealth, and powers.
Yeah, that's
And then
totally their aim.
and
That's
then I
totally
commented back, I said, Jeremiah, Jeremiah, you and your perverted demigods can keep all that ego stroking to yourselves. I'm not interested.
great response.
So, I mean, they are. I mean, I could the whole time I was reading this stuff. I'm like, these,
It's
like, they're the definition of perverts. I mean,
yeah.
it explains the
Yeah.
pedophilia, and it explains a lot of the agendas that are being pushed because they want the rest of the world to think and be like them.
Yeah.
It's a very psychopathic, parasitic consciousness that is the consciousness that they are in. You have to be to join. You don't get to those levels unless you are,
Right.
or that you become that consciousness. It just doesn't happen. That they're
Right.
very selective about who they let in. That's how, like, the Freemasons, for example, the people that don't know about any of this stuff, obviously they're like, oh, I'm a free, or my family's, or my, they know the, like, lower level stuff, and all they see is that. Well, they don't understand that as you go up the degrees, as you move up in the greater organization, you start, really don't until you get pretty far up that you start seeing that stuff, and they start screening out, or they start, like, um basically seeing who they can bring in to those levels, like, but you have to be a person like that. And that's when they're like, oh, this person's totally, and then they give you tests, and then if you pass their tests, that's when they bring you into those higher levels. And as this guy lays out in the book, he literally you get a firsthand visual, detailed account of, like, a person doing that, and joining, and all the stuff he goes through, and all the, the insights. And
Yeah.
because a lot of us have only really heard about this stuff from, like, this outside, like, nowhere near this amount of
The out
detail.
from the outer circles, but
Right.
not.
And we don't really understand. This book really gives you a huge insight and understanding of what's really going on in these groups, and what they're really about, and how it works. And it's really, I feel like everyone that, yes, it's a really rough read in parts. If you might need to just skip past those parts, but it's worth reading. Outside of that, everyone should read this book, in my opinion. It's really, really insightful.
Well, and the reason I would say is because I mean the only way to dismantle the system and take down your enemy is to know your enemy. Like, you
Right.
have to know what these people are capable of, and you have to know what they're doing
Right.
in order to detect their deception, right? Like, this is the only way you have to know your enemy. I think
Hmm.
that can't be any more true in today's times. Like, that is the purpose of us doing this show and disclosure and exposing these people. It's not so we can just bathe in those negative energies. It's so you can know your enemy, and you can know these tactics, and you know how to avoid it. You can know what to look for, and you can navigate around it and find a new path that doesn't
Hmm.
involve violating your body and injecting things and playing along with their agendas. You can find a new way. And I think new people like you, Samuel, and all of us are paving that way. And hopefully people, can see that and they'll follow. And we'll prove to everyone that there is a different way to do this. So that being said,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much, Samuel, for joining us, and thank you for being so brave in your efforts to tirelessly disclose this information. And, just stay safe on your trip, and please keep us updated on how that goes. And, we'll be praying for you. And thank you guys all for tuning in. Don't forget to come hang out with Aaron and I in Tucson, Arizona, September 27th through the 29th. Grab a ticket for the Mind Nexus conference. You can save $50 if you use one of our discount codes that's in the description below. We really want to push some last minute sales and make this an amazing event. So grab a ticket if you're in the area or if you're compelled at all. It's going to be an amazing conference, as all of them are. And, there's a few more coming up after that. The XCon in Springfield, Missouri, October 11th through the 13th, that I'll be speaking at. Margie wants me to do a history of the secret space program, so that's what I'm going to do. And then November is the Star Knowledge Conference in South Dakota, November 9th through the 13th, I believe, or the 11th. And then also coming up in Sedona, October 19th, is Tony Rodriguez Odyssey event. It's a 1-day event with Tony, Jackie, Lily Nova, and a great lineup of people that we won't be speaking at, but I will be there as a sponsor, doing live interviews and, just helping, support the whole cause. So come hang out with me there if you want. And I think we're going
I'll be in Peru, so I will not be there. Otherwise, I would.
which is going to be,
Which is gonna be
I would
amazing.
say equally as amazing, but it's going to be better. Like it's going to be, it's going to be amazing. Yeah.
Peru.
I mean, it's going to like Peru. Yeah, exactly. So, um, anyway, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We love you guys. We can't do this without you. Sign up for our Patreon. It's only $5. We have some exclusive content over there. Check out our website, journeytotruth.online, which now that I have my computer back, we can start updating. And just stay tuned for some things that we have in the works. The documentary is in motion, and that's getting really exciting. So there's a lot happening, and just we're happy you guys are here along for the ride. So until next time, we love you. Have a great evening. Good night. It's going to take a second to do all this.